Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, September 30, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you all like this video. I'd really appreciate it if you all get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the weather's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so considering that today is the last day of September, it only makes sense that we look at the video that was posted on the last day in August about what the weather would have been like in September. And we look here at the map that was shown highlighting the CFS, that's the climate forecast system for September. And we see that Jamaica was shaded in some slight green, some whites, and some yellows that represent at least, some slightly above normal rainfall as well as below normal rainfall across sections of the island. I guess you could say that occurred, especially when we had some of the flash flooding that took place, some of the deep convection for sure, even although most of September very hot for the most part. We're grateful for the little rain that came in, so I guess we could say that the forecast definitely came to fruition. But let us look at what the forecast is looking like for October, and we're looking first at the CFS, the climate forecast system for October, and this time we're seeing majority of the island shaded in the greens. That represents maybe up to 2 inches of rainfall above average in terms of the rainfall. We also see a lot of rainfall to the northwest of us, expected across section of the Cayman Islands. Very interesting. Do we have agreement on the CANSIPS model? The CANSIPS model also has Jamaica shaded in the greens. It represents up to the 2, maybe even up to 3-4 inches of rainfall, especially across the southern Caribbean into Central America. Very interesting. Do we have agreement on the NMME model? The NMME model is showing Jamaica shaded in some slight greens. It represents maybe up to half an inch of rainfall. We'll say it actually plays out. And even the Caracoff is showing what's expected. But keep in mind that the Caracoff is showing the average rainfall that's expected between October through to November and December 2025. And yes, we see Jamaica right here, just to the south and to the, very much to the south or to the east or to the west of where the rainfall is really expected. We see majority of the Greater Antilles shaded in some blues. That represents maybe 50 up to at least 50% chance above normal rainfall. To the west of us, especially across the Cayman Islands, even more, maybe up to 60 if I'm not mistaken. Jamaica not really shaded in much of anything. Very interesting. Looks like we're going to be receiving normal rainfall for the next 3 months according to the Caracoff. We'll see which one of them is more accurate. Would it be the Caracoff? Would it be the NMME model? Would it be the CANSIPS? Or would it be the climate forecast system? We know these long-range forecasts aren't set in stone, so we have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt in general. Regarding climatology, we're heading into the first 10 days of October, and this map right here is showing the tropical and subtropical cyclone points of origins and tracks based on data from 1851 to 2023. And as you can see here, for the next 10 days, for the first 10 days of October, we're seeing that yes, we can have a lot of activity across the Western Caribbean. Look at all of these yellow dots that represents where we've seen a tropical system form. We see some right here to the east of Jamaica, to the south of us. We see numerous systems forming across the main Devonshire region as well. Even although this time of year, we usually shut down the Cape Verde season, so not really much systems coming off of Africa. So clearly most of the focus will be across the southwestern Atlantic, the Gulf, especially the Western Caribbean. And we also see that there's still a lot more activity that can take place over the Eastern Pacific right here to the south and to the west of Mexico. So we'll see how it actually plays out over the next 10 days. And even the typical tracks and origin map right here, highlighting that yes, the Western Caribbean just to the west of Jamaica is the hotspot. All of these oranges into the reds, and we see the typical tracks that they normally take to the north out to sea right here to the east of the United States. And we still have a lot of very warm sea surface temperatures to work with across the Atlantic. Look how warm the waters are across the Atlantic. All of these yellows into the oranges represents very warm sea surface temperatures that these tropical cyclones feed off of. And we see that the La Nina is trying to get its act together, even though it's not really declared as yet. It's still a neutral-like pattern across the eastern to the central Pacific. And we know that we had neutral-like patterns when we had Hurricane Beryl last year. So we can definitely have some crazy category 5s even across the Caribbean, even although most of the activity has been just to the north of the Caribbean with all of these crazy storms, Erin, Humberto. So we still have conditions favorable in our neck of the woods because, you know, we have a lack of El Nino. El Nino is when we have more warmer sea surface temperatures across this part of the world, thus causing more systems to form, and this results in more upper level wind shear across the Caribbean into the Atlantic. But we don't have that at all this year. We have neutral-like patterns trying to even seep into La Nina-like patterns. So it's definitely a plus for this side of the world, even though we haven't been seeing much taking place. We'll see it actually plays out as we wrap up the last 2 months of hurricane season in general. And we need to also highlight that it is not only about how warm the waters are at the skin or at the surface of the ocean, but the warm waters are also dependent on how deep it goes into the ocean. And we see this map right here, the ocean heat content map. Keep in mind that this came out today, and also keep in mind that the other one, the surface sea surface temperature anomalies, came out yesterday, September 29. So we definitely have some updated images to show. So today's ocean heat content that shows how warm the waters are the deeper we go. I mean, look at the very deep warm water right here across the Caribbean, from the eastern to the central, especially to the central and western Caribbean, in and around Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. Trust me, if we actually get a tropical system to sit on top of all of this very warm water, it is just going to be churning up even more warm water. And you know, that's going to be a bad situation. Unlike when we have systems like Humberto that sit across a certain area of the Atlantic that doesn't have really deep warm water to work with. You know, it can leave a cold wake. We can kind of see a slight cold wake right here when it actually became that category 5 system right in here just to the northeast of the Caribbean. So what we're saying is that if we get a system to formulate across our neck of the woods in the Caribbean, a cold wake won't even show up because we're going to be having a lot of very warm deep water to work with to churn up and even strengthen these systems even more. Even if they stall out, it would be a crazy kind of thing to see. Taking a look at the US Climate Prediction Center's Global Tropics Hazards Outlook, we're looking at the time frame from October 8 to October 14. And as you can see here, we have Jamaica not really highlighted in much of anything, but look at the Western Caribbean into the Gulf. We see some slight greens into the red and white patterns, and we also see that across the Eastern Caribbean into the main development region. Very interesting. I want to know the slight greens represents a 50% chance of above average rainfall, and the red and white patterns represents a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation probability. And keep in mind that this Global Tropics Hazards Outlook just came out today from the forecaster novella, September 30, and we're also looking at the time frame from October 15 to October 21. Very interesting. I mean, look at the entire Caribbean into the Gulf, even into the Eastern Pacific, shaded in the light greens into the red and white patterns, even into some red patterns by themselves. And we very much have to highlight that Jamaica is shaded in some of these red and white patterns too. We know all of that represents the 50% chance of above normal rainfall probability, as well as the 20, even up to 40% chance of tropical cyclone formation probability. So will we actually get some more systems to form during this time frame? We know that what the global tropics hazards outlook shows isn't set in stone, so we have to take these forecasts with a grain of salt, but we're still in hurricane season and we haven't been seeing much happening thus far, so maybe it's about to really start taking off. And the fact that it is highlighting these western areas, that is where we usually see activity taking place during October, so we definitely have to pay close attention to see exactly what unfolds as we go through the month of October, and I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs if God spares life. Taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook that just came out at 7:18 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:18 p.m. Jamaica time. We now have Hurricane Imelda. Yesterday it was a tropical storm. It's right here just to the north of the Bahamas, and to the northeast of Hurricane Imelda we have Hurricane Humberto. And if we take a look at the infrared, we can make out all of the clouds associated with Hurricane Imelda right here, and the clouds to the northeast of that associated with Hurricane Humberto. And we see that even some of the thunderstorms associated with this system have been lashing portions of Bermuda right in here. They've definitely been getting in on some of that bad weather throughout the day today. So even although they dodged the bullet with the core of the system, they still got on some of the outer bands, and we know that Imelda is next in line to affect that island. Imagine two systems right in a row. And if we zoom in on Imelda, we can see it right here, not really looking as formidable as Humberto did a couple days ago. We see the deep convection around the center of circulation right in here, just to the east of Florida, to the north of the Bahamas, or to the northeast of the Bahamas. As of right now, Imelda, if I didn't say Imelda is now packing 85 mile per hour winds. I know that systems that pack anywhere from 74 to 95 mile per hour winds are classified as category 1 hurricanes. So we can see it right here. Not gonna be expected to make it up to M's. That represents major hurricane of category 3 to 5. We don't see that in the forecast from the Hurricane Center. As of right now, it is pushing towards the east-northeast at 12 miles per hour, and we see how large that tropical storm force wind field is in the gold, and we see how small the hurricane force wind field is. But look at that, it looks like it's going to be possibly making landfall across Bermuda, which is why we currently have hurricane warnings up for that country in the red. So could it make landfall, or could it pass to the north or south of there? We'll see it actually plays out either way. We see that it should maintain hurricane status all the way up to 2 a.m. on Friday. Then by 2 p.m. on Friday, back to the SS that represents tropical storm status, as is expected to push off towards the northeast, all the way out into the open waters of the northern portion of the North Atlantic. Regarding Humberto, as we stated, we see that portions of Bermuda has been getting in on some of the outer bands from Humberto today, but clearly the core of the thunderstorms and the bad weather, the winds, have been just off to the northwest of there. As of right now, we see that not even the tropical storm force winds, even although it's a huge wind field, didn't even make it into Bermuda, just the outer bands with the rainfall. As of right now, it is packing 80 miles per hour wind, so a category 1 as well. It is currently moving towards the north at 17 miles per hour, and we see that it should dissipate soon. 2 a.m. on Wednesday, still a hurricane, but by 2 p.m. on Wednesday, a tropical storm, and more than likely after that is going to be post-tropical, so it will no longer have that tropical characteristic that would make it, classified as a tropical storm or hurricane at all. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the symbols associated with Hurricane Humberto and Imelda. There's actually a tropical wave right here across the waters to the northeast of South America to the east of the Caribbean, and there's another tropical wave right here off the coast of Africa. All of these being steered from east to west, all courtesy of this ridge of high pressure to the north. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost sunlight, look at the spin that Humberto and Imelda are doing. Just so you know, that's what they do. They spin. Can see the spin better on the visible for sure. Look at the counterclockwise spin around the centers of circulation. We can definitely make out the clouds associated with the tropical wave right here to the east of the Caribbean. And apparently there's another tropical wave right here off the coast of Africa that we saw on the visible, that we saw on the surface map. And we know all of these are being steered from east to west. all courtesy of that ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, September 30, 2025. It was stated that rainfall could have been in the forecast of parts of some eastern parishes in the early morning hours of Tuesday, also affecting sections of some eastern, northern, and western parishes during Tuesday afternoon. And we know that eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Western parishes for the afternoon, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. While northern parishes for the afternoon, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And what ended up happening? As early as 4:25 a.m., the infrared satellite imagery was posted not only here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica, but it was also posted on our Instagram page with the Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So at 4:25 a.m., we can see the infrared highlighting the thunderstorms that were taking place across far eastern St. Thomas. Look at the blues, look at the greens, look at the yellows into the oranges, the reds, all of the sparkling white dots that represents the lightning. I was leaving out for work at that time, and I definitely saw the bolt of lightning just to the east of where I live for sure. So they definitely got some thunderstorm activity in the far eastern parts of St. Thomas at that time. And if you look closely, we can even see some patches of clouds starting to push in to some southern parishes as well. So what was predicted was that some of this activity could have spilled into sections of some western parishes. Well, could have spread westward from where it was and then affect sections of some northern parishes during the afternoon. And that is exactly what happened. Some of the activity definitely spread westward because a post was made again at around 7:46 a.m. highlighting that yes, we were still getting on the rainfall across the far eastern end, but some of the clouds actually started to push into sections of St. Catherine and sections of Kingston as well. I was in Kingston, gotten on some of the rainfall in the morning, and trust me, we don't normally get rainfall in the morning in Kingston, so we're grateful for the little cool down for sure. And then by afternoon, as we expected, the thunderstorms definitely lashed sections of some northern and western parishes and even the eastern end at first, but it was mainly sections of Portland into northeastern St. Andrew right there. We saw the burst of convection right in there across section of northeastern St. Andrew right in here, northwestern St. Thomas. So too sections of Portland, sections of St. Mary into St. Anne, sections of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, sections of St. Elizabeth into Manchester definitely gotten on the overcast skies, if not some isolated thunder shower activity as well. And if we take a look at the visible satellite imagery of Jamaica before we lost sunlight, we can make out what took place. The thunderstorm activity across sections of Portland, especially the Blue Mountains, sections of St. Mary, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James. We saw the convection burst, mainly just overcast skies with the upper level wind shear across sections of Hanover into Westmoreland. And we definitely saw the rainfall that took place across sections of St. Elizabeth and Manchester as well. And we can see the thunderstorms even better on the infrared right here. I mean, look at all of the sparkling white dots that represents the lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, confirming the thunderstorms that lashed portions of St. James, sections of Trelawney, sections of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, St. Anne, St. Mary. Definitely got in on today's thunderstorms for sure. And we even have the Jamaican Doppler radar imagery confirming all of this. Look at the greens into the yellows into the oranges. They represent some light to moderate to even some slightly heavy rainfall across the very areas that we just mentioned. Manchester into St. Elizabeth, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, section of St. Anne into St. Mary for sure. And these were the spots that got in on today's afternoon rainfall for sure, especially across the northern parishes, even Portland with the rainfall earlier. And then we saw how everything turned out across the rest of the northern parishes for sure. We're glad that we have the Jamaican Doppler radar to confirm, and we're also glad that we have the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel to confirm the rainfall that took place this morning. This is in Crossroads in St. Andrew. As you can see, this was 7:52 a.m. I definitely gotten on some of this morning rainfall in Crossroads, just some moderate rainfall Definitely grateful for it for sure. We can see the windshield wipers definitely on, the umbrellas definitely out, and I'm sure that we were all grateful for the little cool down at that time. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams all for you all to view for free. So subscribe today to this channel so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture for we might have had that rainfall today, especially across sections of some northern parishes. So the very areas that the satellite imagery and the Doppler radar show the rainfall, that's where you see shaded for the most part. Section of Hanover into St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, section of Portland, section of St. Elizabeth into Manchester for sure, section of Kingston for sure, St. Thomas as well. And we are all definitely grateful. And we definitely have some comments that came in here from some of our followers and subscribers on our social media platforms. On YouTube, we have Novelet sitting Stony Hill overcast and thunder that was posted 6 hours ago. We have Active 4081 stating we need the rain weather Jamaica. We also have Kemi G TV 8131 stating rain and thunder in Ochi like crazy 4:30. Thank you for confirming, Kemi. We also have Miss Always 5842 stating Friday's forecast. You have to stay tuned to our channel for Friday's forecast. I don't even know. Well, I guess you can know if you look at the 7-day forecast that the supercomputer models are showing, but I wouldn't, because those forecasts aren't really set in stone. The forecasts are more accurate like one day before the actual date, in my opinion. Regarding what's taking place in terms of the comments on our Facebook page, we have JB stating almost ask if I smoke that from Riverton. I wonder what they were referring to. Was it the satellite imagery? We also have Dalvis stating thanks for sharing. Well, we have Latoya stating sauna hot in southern eastern St. Elizabeth where I am. We have Wayne stating Port Maria, St. Mary. What about Port Maria, St. Mary? Guys, you need to tell me what the weather is like, not just tell me your parish or your location. We have Jody stating raining in Ocho Rios. We have Latoya stating get overcast skies, didn't rain. We have Paula stating St. Catherine overcast but no rain. Kevin stating raining now in Granville, St. James. We also have on our Instagram page, we had Anne stating just got some sprinkling but stop just now, Portmore. I'm glad that Portmore got in on a little. We have Lee Dad stating just heard a one thunder, heard from Portmore coming from the southeast direction out at sea. Thanks for confirming that. We have Zinzan underscore Mommy stating sunny in Hanover. We have George stating cloudy in Knockpatrick, Manchester. We have T.43 showing some emojis, lightning, some clouds with rainfall. Thank you for confirming. I wonder what parish that was. We have Steffi underscore Princess stating Crossroads dry, that was posted 1 hour ago. Definitely not this morning though. We have Bradford.Arden stating thanks for sharing, looking slightly overcast. I wonder where that is. Even on our third page, we also have Sja underscore girl 876 stating had a nice shower in Mobe and the rain has stopped and a little sun is shining. We have Anif Brown stating fear but uncertain. We have on our TikTok page Brazer J5 stating St. Anne bright and sunny. Stacy stating Rio Bueno, Trelawney, the sun is very hot. We have Jesus Daughter 93 stating Westmoreland was sunny but it's now cloudy. We have Kayan stating overcast in Mandeville. Shane stating clear skies in Halfway Tree. Kingston, we have Nequela underscore top underscore mother stating yes Portmore. St. Catherine gets some this morning. And finally we have underscore Baby underscore stating St. Mary raining. Core Lisa Brown stating Spanish Town cloudy. I thank you all for the confirmation of what the weather was like in your area for today. Alright, so we're about to reload the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, the very latest Jamaican Doppler radar imagery, the very latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, the very latest Guantanamo Bay US Navy radar imagery, and the very latest Cayman radar imagery. We want to see exactly what's taking place right now. Alright, there we go. The latest still image from the Weather Nerds website is showing 23:55 UTC, which is actually 6:55 p.m. So this just came out 12 minutes ago, considering that it is 7:07 p.m. right now. And as you can see here, we're actually getting on some overcast skies across the north because there's a huge burst of thunderstorms just to the northwest of Portland, just to the north of St. Mary right there. I'm sure if they're out right now on the seaside in St. Mary and Portland, they're seeing all of the lightning taking place out to sea for sure. We can also see just a tad of a lightning right there across northwestern St. Catherine. So could it be raining over there as we speak? I wonder what's taking place on the live camera in the Flatbridge area. I'll have to load that up to see exactly what's taking place right now around there. That's interesting. Is it working? Yep, it definitely is. We're going to be looking at that shortly. But regarding the infrared, definitely some crazy thunderstorms just to the north of St. Mary and Portland for sure. Some of these clouds are being sheared off towards the west by that upper level wind shear, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing the rain bands associated with that on the latest Jamaican Doppler radar images. As a matter of fact, let's reload it one last time. All right, there we go. So this is the latest 2347Z, which is actually 6:47 p.m. and we can definitely make out that rainfall to the north of Portland and St. Mary. Look at the greens into the yellows into the oranges. They represent some light to moderate to some heavy rainfall out to sea, and some of the cloud tops are being shaded off towards west southwest across the island. Definitely bring maybe some light rainfall to some northern parishes if it's actually raining. We also see some rain bands across sections of Westmoreland as we speak. Interesting. The Cuban Doppler radar, not seeing anything because it is glitched. It's showing 10:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 9:40 a.m. Jamaica time. The Guantanamo Bay U.S. Navy radar, I'm sure it's going to be showing something. This doesn't glitch out, so I'm sure it's going to be showing that rainfall. Is it? I think we saw it at the end there. I think it's glitching out a bit because I didn't see it earlier, but definitely at the end after that big glitch right there. Definitely seeing the rain band right here out to sea for sure. Very interesting. What does the Cayman radar show? Let me see something. Okay, so the Cayman radar not really showing much of anything across the Cayman Islands, but we do see where we had some amount of rainfall across the western end of the island of Jamaica earlier today. And regarding what's taking place right now, the live camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, don't really see much of anything taking place right now in the Flatbridge area. Things look calm, to be honest. Nothing to do with bad weather at all. People in their vehicles going about their business. Don't see any rainfall at all, so I'm guessing the rain, well, the lightning that we saw in the infrared right here at the end, maybe just to the west of where that lightning or where that live camera is being shown. Regarding what's taking place right now in terms of the temperatures, we have 27 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and we see Jamaica right here shaded in the grays for the most part, and we know the grays represents average temperatures, and we are heading into the month of October. And in October, it looks like the temperatures are around 89 degrees Fahrenheit. So let us see what Google has to say. 89 Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius is what? That's about 31.6 degrees Celsius right there. So that's going to be the temperature forecast for Jamaica on October 1, 31.6 degrees Celsius. So temperatures not really go down immediately as soon as we flip the calendar into October, but gradually for sure the temperatures are decreasing. I'm sure you have been feeling the slightly cooler temperatures for the past week, especially since we had that rainfall, and no complaints here. We'll definitely take the cooler than average temperatures or the average temperatures. And regarding the outages that are expected here from my JPS online Twitter page, you know that we have to highlight these outages because we know that when we're power outages somewhere across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, please let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Wednesday, October 1, 2025. And it looks like we only have one. That's for Retirement Rivertop. That's in Westmoreland, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. So if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, it states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others including children, elderly people with medical conditions and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated throughout the day. Drink lots of water even if you're not thirsty, and put away those sugary drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see the dry air across portions of the waters just to the west and to the northwest of Africa. We know that the dry air is responsible for keeping the atmosphere stable, making it harder for it to rain. And we like that we're seeing a lot of moist air in the blues. And if you look closely, wherever we have the moist air in the blues, that's where we have all of the clouds in the grays, and that's what we want more of. We want more of the clouds, that we get more rainfall to keep water in our pipes and to keep the temperatures down. Regarding the Saharan dust forecast for the next 3 days, so we're heading into October 1, October 2, and October 3. And as you can see, Jamaica should be here in the clear. Not much in the way of Saharan dust affecting us at all. And we can also see that across the main development region, some Saharan dust should be pushing through, but clearly thinning out and dwindling the more west it pushes. And that's what we want to see, because we know that the Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies, not to mention trigger respiratory illnesses like asthma and sinusitis issues in some people. So we're grateful that these days, not really much of anything in terms of Saharan dust is in our future. Regarding the wave forecast for tomorrow, still seeing the crazy amount of waves that both Hurricane Imelda and Hurricane Umberto are causing across the waters to the east of the United States, to the north of the Bahamas. I mean, that's anywhere from 2 all the way up to 9 or more meter wave heights for sure. While the Caribbean, getting in the light shades of blues to darker shades of blues, that's anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1 meter wave height for the Caribbean. And that's because across the Caribbean, we're looking like we're getting in on more of a easterly, if not east-south easterly flow, if not a southeasterly flow, averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 knots at most. While where we have Umberto and Imelda for tomorrow, we're having this huge counterclockwise flow of winds, averaging anywhere from 25 all the way up into the hurricane force in terms of the knot winds for sure. So that explains why the waves up there are so high. But regarding Jamaica's wave forecast for tomorrow, for the Fisher folk, to the north of Portland, 0.6 of a meter wave height. To the north of St. Anne, 0.3 of a meter wave height. To the north of Hanover, 0.2 of a meter wave height. To the north of Westmoreland, 0.4 of a meter wave height. To the south, to the south of Westmoreland, 0.4 of a meter wave height. To the south of Clarendon, 0.7 of a meter wave height. To the south of St. Thomas, that's 0.8 of a meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. Interesting. For tomorrow, it's looking like more of a southeasterly flow, as you can see here. And that's what we see, more of a southeasterly flow. So if we actually get some rainfall to come off of the sea from the southeast, could be coming into section of the eastern parishes, if not the southern parishes. And we know that's usually in the morning hours. And then during the afternoon, we see that we have the least amount of winds on the northern side of the island. That's where we could have some of these low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds. So we could have some daytime heating, bringing some rainfall to sections of some northern parishes once again. And you know the northern parishes we're referring to are anywhere from Hanover into St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Those are the areas that could get on the daytime heating rainfall for sure. And regarding the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS, they are both valid for 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. That's about 7 a.m. Jamaica time on a Wednesday. And we see some blues represent rainfall across the waters to the southeast. And given the southeasterly flow, some of this could definitely come into section of some southeastern parishes once again. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models. So maybe some morning rainfall once again for sections of Clarendon, maybe section of St. Catherine, maybe some of this into section of St. Thomas, maybe even spilling into section of Kingston and St. Andrew. And we see even the GFS is showing some of that as well out to sea to the southeast, even section of St. Thomas and southeastern Portland shaded in some of the blues, even southern Clarendon, and even some rain bands to the south of Westmoreland and St. Thomas. We didn't see that on the Euro, but We'll see it actually plays out. Yes, we do see some dots of blues right there on the Westmoreland side. So will it be some actual rainfall across section of some southern and eastern parishes in the morning? That's what it looks like. Then by afternoon, look at this now. What is it showing? It looks like rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes, with the brunt of the activity across sections of some northern parishes. I mean, look at the euro and the dark blues into the greens across those areas that are shaded on the north coast. GFS almost similar, but it's more so like northern and western parishes. Definitely something similar to what happened today for sure. So it could be a repeat. So look out for rainfall during the afternoon if you are in Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, section of northwestern St. Thomas, St. Andrews, section of northern St. Catherine, northern Clarendon, section of central to northern Manchester, central to northern St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland getting in at some of the action as well. And even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that it should be raining somewhere across Jamaica within the next 24 hours. Both maps right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Thursday. Well, 10 p.m. on Wednesday, because this map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 3 on Thursday, October 2, which is actually from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now up until then, but these are the spots that should be getting in on the rainfall within the next 24 hours. We see the entire island shaded from the eastern end to the western end, the greens into the yellows into the oranges. The Euro going up to at least 0.58 of an inch of rainfall for the totals. The GFS going up to at least 0.79 of an inch of rainfall for the totals. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I will definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. And whatever happens, we'll definitely take it, because we are in the month of October now. We're in October now. And in October, we usually get the most amount of rainfall across the entire island. So every parish receives their most rainfall in October, the wettest month of the year. In Manchester, whose bar graph is being shown right here, we usually receive around 139 millimeters of rainfall in October. That's about 5.5 inches of rainfall. In Trelawney, we usually receive 182 millimeters of rainfall in October. That's about the same as 7.2 inches of rainfall. And I would like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of October or for the entire year, you can visit nomadseason.com and that website to show you that information. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next one, John 68 hours. That stands for the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place over the next 7 days. So we just looked at Wednesday's forecast. Now it is time to look at Thursday, and we're starting at 12Z. That's about 7 a.m. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica. Not really shaded in much of anything. We can quickly see Imelda pushing off towards the northeast, already having made landfall by that time across Bermuda, or affected them if it didn't make landfall. Then on Thursday afternoon, look at that rainfall in the greens across section of some. Looks like some eastern, northern, and western parishes once again. That looks like the pattern this week. Then on the GFS, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica at that time either. Maybe some isolated shores out west and to the south of us. Then on Thursday afternoon, looks at that maybe across section of some central and western parishes with that rainfall. What do we see on Friday morning? Friday morning, not really seeing much of anything across Jamaica. Friday afternoon, looking like some rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. Don't really believe this. I mean, look at the line of shores extending from, looks like what, Panama all the way up into Jamaica. I don't believe that at all, but this is what the Euro is showing. What does the GFS show? Friday morning, not really much of anything across Jamaica. Friday afternoon, we're actually seeing some rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes, but no long line of shores extending into Panama at all. We do see some moisture to the south of Haiti spilling into Jamaica though. Very interesting Friday afternoon forecast. What do we see on Saturday morning? Saturday morning, not really much of anything across Jamaica. Maybe some rainfall across the western end. And then on Saturday afternoon, look at that rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. What does the GFS show? Saturday morning, not really much of anything. Saturday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes once again. What do we see on Sunday morning? Sunday morning, we see some rainfall across the southeastern end of the island. On the Euro, then on Sunday afternoon, looks like some eastern, northern, and western parishes. What does the GFS show? On Sunday morning, rainfall across the southwestern end. On Sunday afternoon, rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, western parishes. What do we see on Monday morning? On Monday morning, not really seeing much of anything. And then on Monday afternoon, we're seeing rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. And just like that, we're stopping it at the end of the 168 hours, just like what the Hurricane Center would do. So this is valid for Tuesday, October 7th. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica at that time. What do we see on the GFS? Monday morning, rainfall to the south of us. Monday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, western parishes. Then, just like on the Euro, we're stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. Don't really see much of anything across Jamaica at that time. Very interesting forecast. And if we take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are showing that over the next 7 days from now all the way up until Tuesday, October 7th, the areas that are shaded in the dark reds into the purples and the pinks, those are the spots that should be getting in on the 2 inches all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall range. So we're talking about the waters to the north of the Caribbean, in and around the Bahamas into Florida. We also see some of this spilling into some isolated spots into Cuba and even portion of Jamaica, the dark reds. Look at the rainfall totals across sections of Central America into portion of Northern and South America. Very interesting, and we know that anywhere that's shaded in the 2 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall range could get on some isolated flash flooding. And we clearly see that the Euro and the GFS malls, well, for the most part, especially in and around the northern portion of the Bahamas, associated with Imelda and the usual rainfall across section of Northern South America into Central America, these areas could definitely get on the isolated flash flooding for sure, especially considering that both maps are showing the same thing. And regarding Jamaica's rainfall totals over the next 7 days from now up until Tuesday, October 7th, on the Euro we see Jamaica shaded in the greens into the yellows into slight oranges that represents anywhere from 15 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to at least close to 50 millimeters of rainfall. The GFS has been robust with the rainfall totals, showing Jamaica shaded in the greens, yellows, and oranges. That's going up to a whopping total out west of 78 millimeters. We'll see it actually plays out, and whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted if God spares life. Taking a look at what's taking place across the rest of the basin. So as stated, we have Humberto and Imelda right here spinning away to the north of the Bahamas. We also see some moisture from that tropical wave starting to push into the eastern Caribbean. A lot of moisture associated with this tropical wave right here to the northeast of South America as we speak. If we take a look at the close-up of the northeastern Caribbean and the Doppler radar imagery at that, we see some isolated showers in and around the US and British Virgin Islands, some rainfall just to the east of Antigua and Barbuda, some nice rain bands right here to the northwest of Puerto Rico, some heavy rainfall at that. And if we load these images from earlier today, didn't really see much of anything across the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico today. But if we take a look at the Barbados radar, we're actually seeing some rain bands in and around Barbados. So we see some rain bands right here to the north of Barbados pushing westward towards Martinique. We also see some rain bands to the east of Barbados. Some of that could definitely make it into Barbados later on tonight if they actually hold up. And we see some moisture right here to the northeast of Trinidad and Tobago as well, pushing towards Tobago. Regarding the weather via Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall to the east of Florida. We can also see some rainfall across northwestern Venezuela as well. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both maps right here from the Euro and the GFS are in agreement that within the next 24 hours from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday, there should be some amount of rainfall. We see the greens into the yellows into the oranges and the reds that represents an inch of rainfall or less. So that's expected within the next 24 hours for areas such as Florida, the Bahamas, section of Cuba, so to Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, much of the Leeward Islands, so St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Bart, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, so to Barbados. Don't really see much of anything across St. Vincent and the Grenadines across both the Euro and the GFS maps. Don't really see much of anything in terms of rainfall across much of Guyana, Suriname or French Guyana, but it starts across section of Venezuela into section of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Honduras, El Salvador, into Guatemala, Belize, especially southern Belize for sure getting on some rainfall, so too section of the Yucatan, so too maybe the little island over here off the Cayman Islands. We'll see it actually plays out. Whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at what's taking place across the Eastern Pacific. We now have a new tropical storm. That's Tropical Storm Octave. Yesterday, remember, we have 3 eras to watch: a code yellow, a code orange, and a code red. And look at that. The code red became Octave. I guess the code orange is now a code red. And we know the next name on the list after Octave is Priscilla. So could that system acquire the name? Either way, these are the entities. We have Octave right in here. We have Priscilla trying to get its act together right in here. Not really organized right now. Let's see if it actually, acquires that name. As of right now, Tropical Storm Octave is packing 45 mile per hour winds. And we know that systems that pack anywhere from 39 to 73 mile per hour winds are classified as tropical storms. So it's a low-end tropical storm, definitely closer to tropical depression status than to hurricane status. It is currently moving towards the northwest at 6 miles per hour, and we see that there's no land in its forecast, so it's a fish storm for sure. Should maintain that tropical storm status all the way up until Sunday, but we know these things can change. Let's see how it actually plays out. Regarding the Western Pacific into the Indian Ocean, yesterday we highlighted this code yellow right here across the Indian Ocean, something that could develop over the next 7 days. But all of a sudden, a brand new code red right here near India and Pakistan. Very interesting. Could we actually get a cyclone? We know in this part of the world we don't call them hurricanes or typhoons, we call them cyclones. So let's see if we actually get something to formulate over here. Yes, we can have systems in the Indian Ocean for sure. And to the far east of that, we have a code orange right here to the east of the Philippines. So something that has a medium chance of development. So basically a flip of what we saw on the Eastern Pacific. So a code yellow, something with a low chance of development. A code red, something with a high chance of development. And a code orange, something with a medium chance of development just to the east of the Philippines right now, but nothing really organized at this time. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.